Are you aspiring to be a new voiceover talent? Well, this channel has been created with you in mind. Perhaps you've even said, after hearing yourself recorded, maybe you were recording an audition, or maybe your first DIY demo reel to kind of show your skills. Now, when you play those things back, you say to yourself, I absolutely hate the sound of my voice. My voice is terrible. With this video, we're going to give you 5 reasons to not only stop hating the sound of your voice, but to actually help you to learn to love your voice. Let's get right to it. Voice actor Ray Robinson here. And as we mentioned, we have 5 reasons for you to love your voice. Reason number 1, you have used your unique voice your entire life. So it's a tool of communication that you know how to use quite well. And let's reason on this for a moment. You say you hate the sound of your voice. But if your voice was as bad as you perceive in your mind, isn't it true that you would get that feedback on a daily basis as you spoke to your workmates, your schoolmates, really everyone? You would get some kind of recoil. Or you would see babies crying. Please shut up. Or maybe dogs howling. Maybe you would see cats looking for the nearest window to jump out of. Why? Because your voice is terrible. Has that been your experience? See, I don't think so. Why? Because your voice is not as bad as you think it is. In fact, it's not bad at all. Unless you sound like Steve Urkel. And you know what? Even he got paid for that character voice. But I think you get the point. Your voice is fine. Now, having said that, we all need to continue to train our voice. We train what we have to improve upon it, to improve the quality of that voice, to improve the quality of our read, the quality of our acting ability, to be able to communicate what is written down and give it feeling. But see, those are all things that are in your control. It has nothing to do with your actual voice. Your voice is fine. So now let's move on to reason number 2. Your voice belongs to you and no one else. No one else can sound exactly like you. That makes you unique. Now, some may be reasoning, well, I've got a twin, or I know twins. And man, they sure sound alike. But isn't it true, if you're on the phone with one of those twins, you can tell one from the other. Why? Well, even though they have the same general sound from their voice, the way they use that instrument is completely different, one from the other, and it makes them distinct and unique people and communication vessels, so to speak. In other words, the rhythm, the style, the way that they form their words, the way that they move their mouth. See, all of those things are factors that contribute to their unique sound. Your unique sound, my unique sound. And it's not the sound itself of the voice, but how you use it. So learn to enhance the little nuances that you have in your voice when it comes to reading, because that's what we do. So reading out loud is the natural first step in improving everything that has to do with voiceover or voice acting. This is not a profession that you can say, Well, I'm not much of a reader. See, that's the job. The job is reading. So what's the number one tip to help you to improve? Read out loud, not in your head, but out loud. And form the habit of listening, record it and listen to your voice honestly and objectively. Then you can kind of critique it. Because in that way, your critique is not self-destructive, but very productive. And if you have a very honest friend, let them hear that also. And then you can make adjustments. Let's move to point number 3. The quality of your voice, of your very unique voice, and the vocal sound can be enhanced through proper training, and yet it still remains your voice. So don't blame your voice. Your voice is fine, but training is a must. Now, there are a ton of very expensive training programs out there, and the majority of them are quite good. But at this stage in your development, you don't need a course because you're at the beginning of honing your craft. And remember, the job is reading. As you develop your reading skills and then elevate your reading skills to a reading art form. See, that's what you want to do. You want to elevate it. Then you're performing. Then you're acting. And then you can take something that is as dry as a corporate HR script and put some life into it, although still in a corporate setting, because it's still voice acting. And that's something that should never be forgotten. But the job is reading. So read out loud at this stage as much as you can. And then in the future, if you feel the need to pursue more training, which is recommended, that training presupposes that you have developed a nice level of reading skill. So start there. Now let's move to point number 4. Your particular voice may be exactly what a certain client has been searching for. Here's the thing. A client usually has some sort of idea what sound and style of read that he's looking for in conjunction with his project. He can hear that in his head, even though he hasn't heard you yet. So when he goes through an audition, it is just a matter of seconds for him to make a determination and say, okay, this sounds like what I want. This does not sound. So scratch, scratch, scratch. Okay, so he's scratching hundreds. He's scratching many who are award-winning voice actors. Well, they're getting scratched also, but you may not, because you sound exactly like the voice that he's had spinning around in his head as he was creating his project. He just hadn't found you yet. So never underestimate yourself. Just continue to hone your craft and don't get tied up into that person's voice sounds awesome. Mine does not, because that awesome voice may not get many jobs that you will, because you're the one the client is looking for. Let's move on to the last and very important point here. If you hate your own voice, then how could you possibly convince a client that your voice is the right voice for his project? See, that's impossible. If you're coming in with the attitude that I do not like my voice, or you won't convince me, nor will you convince the potential client that you should voice their project. And why is that the case? Well, I say this because if you hate your voice, then that will affect your confidence in your delivery, your confidence in reading and acting the script. You'll be so centered in this thought of my voice is not adequate that your read will become unnatural. It won't be you. It will no longer be the voice that the client was looking for. Yes, it will lack that conversational quality. But in contrast, folks, if you embrace the voice that you've been given and you train it so that it's performing optimally, right? You'll see that you have a unique gift that no one else does, that no one else has. And at that point, now it's a matter of placing yourself in front of potential clients that want to pay to use your voice. And that's another 15 or 20 videos. That becomes the work right there. But first, get your instrument in tune and know that you know how to use it correctly. If you've received any value from this video, please subscribe and hit the like button, ring the bell, hit the bell, and you'll be notified when we have new content to present. Ray Robinson, voice actor. Have a good one.